Hi, you're sewing with Cody, and in this video, was working on a project, and I know it's been a while since I've put any new videos out there, and I wanted to have a video that wasn't just about BERNINA machines, BERNINA feet, but other projects that I'm just working on. So Pete and I are up here tonight, quilting what is or turning into be a placemat. So I'm teaching a class tomorrow on the crazy Christmas tree table runner, and this is one of the Christmas trees. I've actually taken out a few segments and made it a little bit shorter so it would fit better as a placemat. But what I'm doing now, I did that earlier, but what I'm doing now is I'm actually just quilting it together. I love rulers. However, I didn't bring any of my rulers home with me today. Um, so I would have really done some cool ruler work quilting on it. But since I don't have a single long arm ruler with me, I just decided to do some straight lines. Straight line quilting is some of my favorite quilting because it doesn't distract at all from the fabric or your piecing. And I am not a fan of stitching in the ditch because sometimes you see the stitch, sometimes you don't. When I do have to stitch in the ditch, I use Wonderfill branded thread. It's in Visifil. It's 100 weight. I don't have any laying around to show you, but it's excellent. So whenever you are quilting and stitching in the ditch, 100 weight, a really thin thread is excellent because if it does poke out of that seam or that ditch, you really won't see it. But I'm a huge fan of stitching outside the ditch or using a simple quilting stitch, either a wave stitch or a feather stitch. So what I'm using my number 10D foot. So I'm using the foot with that center guide. So I'm riding that guide right in that seam. And of course using the dual feed on the machine because I am quilting, so it gives me much better feeding of all my layers, even though I do have all my back, my batting, and my top spray basted with a 505 temporary spray adhesive. Absolutely love it, can't live without it. But what I did with this is because I didn't want to take away from the tree or the fabric, and I didn't want to spend too much time because I just wanted to get it done for a sample for my class tomorrow. I didn't want to spend too much time quilting it too heavily, which I'm prone to do. So what I did is I used my number 10 foot, and of course I'm using my freehand system to raise and lower my foot at a drop of a hat. So I'm pivoting and making all these turns. But what I did, I moved my needle position. I'm on a straight stitch. I lengthened my stitch to about 3 millimeters. And I moved my needle position over 3 spaces. And I'm on a 9 millimeter stitch width machine. So 3 spaces is not the same 3 spaces as on a 5.5 millimeter stitch width machine. So if you're on a 5.5 millimeter stitch width machine, you would probably want to move over to about 4 or 5 to give you enough space from the seam. So what I did is I first quilted an outline, just a tree, and I realized that wasn't enough. So what I did is I went back, and I'm still going back, and hopefully you can see, yeah, I am stitching down the seams, the pieces that were pieced together to create the tree. I'm stitching on each side of that. So what I did is I just started from a top, and I stitched down, and then I pivoted, stitched a little bit down, stitched a few stitches down, and then stitched back to my raw edge. And what I did, I just cut the thread there because all that's going to be cut off. There's going to be binding that's going to go around it. So I'm not, in a case like this, I'm not worried about tying off my threads. I'm not worried about pulling up my thread. I just start off the edge. So I'm starting on my excess backing and batting. So I just start, I stitch down, I come down, and I go back up, and I just cut my thread. And I'll trim it all up, and there's no need to tie off anything. It's just super easy and super quick, and I love the look that you get. And even down this little gray sashing that I created to separate the white background tree from this absolutely adorable Christmas fabric that we have. And it's got some gray deer and penguins in it. And because it was white background, it just didn't work. I needed something small to separate it. And what I did is on the BERNINA 770, I used stitch 1396. It's a large wave stitch. And because my sashing is finished at 3/4 of an inch, I use my number 1D and then just stitched. The foot was the perfect width for this to keep it lined up, and then stitch that simple wave stitch. So it gives it something just to fill it in. You don't need much. And the thread that I'm using to quilt this entire little soon-to-be placemat, I'm using Wonderfill Decobob, which is an 80-weight cottonized thread. Wonderful thread. I use it in the bobbin for just about everything, and I use it a lot on the top for almost everything as well. It's just an excellent thread. And I'm using a light gray. So on the white, it looks almost white. On the dark gray, it looks a light gray. It just blends in beautifully. But yeah, that's it. And I just wanted to show some of the things I'm working on, some of the things that I do. Like I said, I'm teaching a class tomorrow, doing the crazy Christmas tree table runner using the Creative Grid spiderweb ruler. It makes it so easy, and it's just fun. And every tree can be a little different. And like I said, to do the table runner, I'm sorry, to do the placemat, I didn't insert two pieces, so it made it a little shorter because the traditional pattern makes a tree a little bit longer, which is great for the table runner, but was too big for the placemat. All right. Well, hopefully this inspired you to do some Christmas projects. Otherwise, happy sewing.